I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Italy is a pretty Italian country. They got the best food, great beaches, and a decently sized army. So if anybody tries to alter the pizza pepperoni pasta continuum, you can be assured that Italy will respond. No, but seriously though, as much as they hate their own country, Italy isn't just something to scoff at. For one, the country spends about $32 billion on its military each and every single year. A very meaningless number if you ask me. If we really want to get an idea for how far 32 billion George Washingtons get you in terms of guns and tanks, that makes Italy the 11th, or 12th, my sources vary here, largest military spender on the planet, ahead of Canada, Brazil, and Poland. But by far the coolest thing that Italy has is this area of land right here. This place is just so cool. You know, in science class, when they showed you that one photo of every type of biome and natural formation condensed into a small area of land, and how cool it would be to just own a house in that place. Yeah, that's literally northern Italy. Venice, for example. A literal island city. Yeah, it's small. Yeah, it gets too many tourists. Yeah, it's maybe a tad bit overrated. But screw you, it looks so cool to live in. Imagine you own an apartment in this place, and everything is just localized on this island, and all you need to do is walk 2 minutes to get to anything you need. It's like a college campus, but actually fun. And then it doesn't end there either. If you get sick of the water, weirdo, all you need to do is take a trip a little bit to the north, and boom, you'll be on one of the world's tallest mountain ranges, the Alps. And if you get sick of the Alps, it's only a 3-hour car ride to Nice, which, if you don't know anything about anything, looks like this. In a matter of minutes, you can literally switch and flip-flop between whole biomes like this is a Minecraft world or something. At this point, however, I have to apologize to all the Italian viewers, since this next segment will be dedicated to France. When I think of this country, several things come to mind, one of which may or may not have anything to do with young African American males spending their youth and free time in the capital city of this country. For all the crap we talk about the French, we're really lucky because if they wanted to, the French could just conquer the entire planet. For example, I bet you didn't know that France has the 3rd highest number of nuclear weapons on Earth. So next time you forget to add the blue and the red onto this flag, just remember the number 290, or as it is called in French, 204 2010s. And then there's the worldwide cultural and military power that France has throughout the planet. You thought you hated French? Well, just wait until you find out that it's the 5th most spoken language on the world. Yeah, the pain that you have to go through in 7th grade, over 270 million poor souls have to go through on a daily basis. Honestly though, French isn't even that bad. Hate me as much as you want, but nah, I'm gonna defend them on this one. The language is low-key pretty cool once you get the hang of it. It has a sort of elegance to it, especially in singing. Y'all ever heard Stromae? Tell me this isn't a banger. And I'm not alone on this one. A bunch of historical figures can back me up here. Before English became so popular around the planet, it was actually French which was the main language of things like diplomacy and international relations. The leaders of Russia and Turkey, for example, speak entirely different languages with absolutely no correlation with one another. But how did they communicate? Through French. But you know what would be cool? Owning Germany. Okay, wait, let me elaborate a bit here. So, you know how in America, when liberals realize what they've done, they move to Texas, and then the conservatives cry and weep about it like it's a barbarian invasion. Well, hypothetically, you can do the same thing in Europe, through a neat trick called open borders. France, for example, borders many other European countries, which many other European countries have had to learn the hard way. And as such, it does not need to rely solely on its own citizens for the functioning of the nation, because with all of the countries it borders, France has put down its barriers. Which brings me to the owning Germany part. Historically, if a French leader needed access to the resources or manpower of the land of Germany, they usually invaded the country through warfare. But partly because this dynamic hasn't been very successful for France recently, or even Germany for that matter, both sides just try to ask nicely nowadays. Due to the fact that the French and the Germans have open borders with one another, resources, goods, and items that exist in Germany can be sent to France and sold in France at a relatively low cost, and vice versa. And this is useful because Germany might have some things that France does not have, and vice versa. And so, as opposed to just being stuck with what they got, they have an opportunity to have more resources. Like, if this YouTube thing doesn't work out and I end up selling water at Disneyland, I'll probably have to purchase a ticket each and every time I enter the theme park, on top of actually buying the water itself, and I would make absolutely no money. If the CEO of Disney, though, out of the blue decides to make entry into the theme park free, then boom, I can enter and just sell my water. For America, this makes moving things from California to Texas very painless and easy, and is literally the reason why anyone has anything in this country. The difference between America and Europe, however, is that one is a country, and the other one is a whole continent. If we consider this to be Western Europe, for example, then in total it would have a population of over 300 million people. 300 million. That's almost the entire population of the United States, in an area that's about half the size of mainland America. Moreover, this land is well connected through highways, train railways, and airports, meaning that those 300 million people have the ability to crisscross the land and contribute to the economy. Every economy. This is where open borders comes in, because if Mbappe one day decided to start a social media campaign to shut down the French border with Spain so people could shut up about him going to Madrid, then both the French and the Spanish would lose billions of dollars worth of trade goods. The reason for this is that if you, yes you, owned a business in Spain, which was based off of shipping and sending items to France, you would have to pay in time and money, which, if you've ever seen an Instagram influencer telling you to do something with your worthless life, are apparently the two holiest things on the planet. You would get stuck at the border, costing you time, and subsequently pay more in fuels, visas, and any extra fees that come in the form of money. Over 300 million people can traverse this area relatively free, and goods and services can just cross throughout it, such as jobs, ideas, and goods, which overall makes most people wealthier. And mind you, I haven't even said a peep about Eastern Europe. This makes Europe rich, like very rich. I'm talking crazy rich, like Donald Trump smoking a hookah with Mensa Musa rich. Because the continent is rich and numerous in people, it can do something that poor countries and sparsely populated countries cannot do, and that is utilize their money on a large scale efficiently. A German company, for example, could have not just the materials and resources such as computers and machines that it needs to operate, which could be bought with money, but it also has a large pool of workers that come from not just Germany, but also from France, Poland, Italy, and other countries that are surrounded by it. It's like, if I have a butt ton of money, and I buy an office building, but because I'm a crap manager, nobody wants to work for me, then I cannot make anything or manufacture anything because I have no workers. In other words, my population is low. Contrast that with me being God's gift to Earth and having 20 million people lined up to work for my company like it's their only path to salvation. Except I'm broke and I cannot give my followers, or population, anything to work with. And now I'm just stuck with a bunch of people who, similar to the version of me nobody liked, cannot make or produce anything. If I have no money, I can't give them computers, machines, or even somewhere to work because I cannot afford it. And if I have no followers, I have no method of carrying out my plan. Many people are lined up to work for this hypothetical company called Europe, and Europe has many money to pay its people that want to work for it. But wait, there's a catch. So if you ever met anyone over the age of 70, you'll notice something very unique about them. They kinda aren't the best suited to do hard work for long hours. Unless they're presidents for some reason. In that case, they seem to work fine. So what's the catch? Well, Europe is old. And no, I'm not saying this as an American whose country is only 300 years old. I mean, Europeans are old. Like, no offense, but really old. The average age of Germany and Italy, for example, is 44 and 46, respectively. Most of the people who live within this ungodly duo are in their 40s, which is alright for now. Except that, and if you're from either of these countries, I'm very sorry to tell you, You'll probably be 65 within 2 decades. That being said, within 2 decades, a large portion of the people within Germany and Italy will likely be retired, or about to retire, which, considering that society generally needs people to do some work for a country to function, is not exactly great. Many European doctors, lawyers, psychologists, archaeologists, paleontologists, like just nerds in general, will probably not be working in 2 decades' time, which kinda sucks. No, but really though, the issue is that there won't be as many people in the workforce to make things work. And the worst part about it is that us youngsters will have to support the new elderly population because we're really the only ones who could do it. Somebody with Alzheimer's or arthritis, for example, will probably need help from somebody else. And it is probably best if that somebody else didn't also have arthritis. This creates another issue though. Since we're the only ones who can help the elderly, that means we probably won't have as much time working as doctors, lawyers, or whatever other jobs have really long names. I'm trying to say that Europeans are getting old and there aren't enough young people to take the places of the old people. But wait, there's a solution. The only problem is you may not like it. Immigration. Remember how I said that this continent is rich? Well, like working on yourself and your mental health, when countries improve themselves, go to the gym, meditate, eat healthy, they usually attract people who want to live that lifestyle as well. Luckily for people who want such a lifestyle, Europe is not a stranger. The geography and global cultural influence that the continent has throughout the planet attracts to it a great share of immigrants who want to improve their lives. French, for example, as mentioned before, is spoken by a great amount of African countries, and if you've been up to date with the recent stereotypes, you'll know that many African countries are kinda not nice right now. As for the people there, however, since many of them speak French fluently already and went to French schools where they study things like law, medicine, and computer science in French, they can try to migrate to France, a country whose language they already speak, to provide services that are in demand there. A similar concept exists within South Asia. In India, for example, they do not speak Indian. Yeah, shocking. They speak several different languages whose names you will probably not understand and which I will just put up on the screen. As a result, they adopted English as a common language between all of these other languages to find a common ground to communicate with one another. This is due to the fact that although India as a country is very different and diverse, the one thing that every region of India has in common is getting absolutely abused and raped by the British Empire, which the founders of the country have turned into a positive through its adoption of the English language as a common method of communication between all of the different languages, and which is the main language of many things in India like business, law, and medicine. For Indians who want better lives, they can possibly move to England or any of its former colonies using the skills they learned in the language of English to provide a better life for themselves. And unlike Europeans, most Indians and Africans are actually pretty young, so if you let them move to Europe, then bam, your demographic crisis has been solved. That's what America does, and it's how we've avoided this issue. Only problem is, not everyone really likes that. But you can probably figure that out on your own.